Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Amma ba'du fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. As you're all aware that tonight the Quran class is actually going to be about Salat related matters. The philosophy of Salat has been explained by the promised Messiah ﷺ in many places in his writings. He writes that before Islam came, the Arabs used to drink alcohol, they used to consume alcohol 5 times a day. So when Allah the Almighty brought Islam in this world through Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, those 5 times for alcohol consumption were replaced with 5 times of prayers throughout the day. Similarly, in another place, the promised Messiah ﷺ mentions that another wisdom that one can easily see in 5 daily prayers is that they reflect a form of different circumstances that a person may go through, starting from difficulty and ultimately ending up in ease. So regarding those 5 phases that may dawn on someone's life, Allah the Almighty has placed those 5 daily prayers. Then Masih Maud Islam went into detail for each of those prayers. There is this book called Fiqhul Masih. Hazur Anwar Ayyadahullah bin Nasr al-Aziz talked about it, I believe, a couple years ago or so, when this book was released. It has the fatwa, the religious edicts of the promised Messiah ﷺ, and then that of his khulafa in one place. And they are collected according to topics. So if you go under the topic of adhan, you'll find all the relevant information that promised Messiah ﷺ has mentioned, or that of his khulafa. Similarly, if you go under wudu, you'll find pertinent information over there. And if you look at the heading under salat, you'll find all the relevant information under there. What I wanted to do tonight is give you the opportunity to ask as many questions related to Salat related matters that you face on day-to-day basis. Any question that you may have. There are a couple of things that I also actually wanted to share related to Salat related matters. From the fatwa of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam, it becomes quite evident that the promised Messiah ﷺ has mentioned that Imam is supposed to stand in front. The very word Imam in Arabic language means somebody who is supposed to be at the front and not, at the same, in the same line, so on and so forth. Only in certain situations is it okay for the Imam to stand with the Muqtadis. Otherwise, the norm is that the Imam should be standing in front. Then another piece of guidance that I wanted to share with all of you tonight is related to offering Salat bil Jamaat, offering Salat in congregation twice in a masjid. For example, you come to masjid and you see that an individual is offering Salat, and you quickly go and start offering prayers behind him, only to realize that the actual time for Salat is actually not yet begun, or the actual Imam of the mosque has not yet arrived, and he has not yet started the prayer. What should be done in that case? And what is the fatwa about that? Is it something okay? Is it something acceptable? Not acceptable? So regarding this, there was a situation at the time of Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ as well. Once promised Messiah ﷺ, when he traveled to Gurdaspur, Maulana Muhammad Ahsan Sahib, who was a companion of the promised Messiah ﷺ, was traveling with him. And Maulana Sahib at that time was actually sick. So he thought to himself that maybe he can just offer his prayer by himself, because he wanted to quickly offer his prayer. And when he started his prayer, some of the individuals who walked in at that time, they thought that, this is the official prayer, so they started offering Salat behind him. And thus, whatever prayer it was, it happened in congregation. On the other hand, promised Messiah ﷺ, Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ, he himself was offering his wudu. And those who have seen him make wudu, they know that Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ used to take his time to properly do wudu. He wouldn't rush through it. He would thoroughly perform ablution. And because of that, the other person, which was Maulvi Muhammad Ahsan Sahib, who was sick that day and was in a bit of a hurry, he just started his own prayer. When Masih Maud ﷺ found out that the prayer has been done already, he did not like it. He gave this fatwa, or he made this statement: "Ek makam par do namazein hargiz na honi chahiye." It should not happen that at the same place two prayers are being offered, meaning once it is being offered in congregation, and then again it is being offered in congregation. What the Prophet Messiah ﷺ is telling us in this incident, through this incident, is that we're supposed to wait for the Imam. Whoever is the Imam, in that case it was the Imam appointed by Allah Himself, which obviously takes precedence over everybody. But if you localize this example, and then you try to understand what should be done, the underlying point is that whoever is the local Imam, you wait for him. You wait for him to start the Salat, and then you offer Salat behind him. Hazrat Muslim Maud radiyallahu anhu, the second Khalifa to the promised Messiah and Imam Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam, also says regarding this. He says that if you come into the masjid and and an individual has already offered, or a group of individuals have offered Salat bil Jamaat without the appointed Imam, because they were in a hurry or for whatever reason, regarding this, Hazrat Muslim radiyallahu ta'ala anhu says, "Ye to mana nahi," that this is not forbidden. However, na pasandida hai, it is not liked. Wo bhi masjid mein, especially in the masjid, to do something like this. It's not that it is forbidden, but it is highly disliked. क्योंकि इस तरह अगर अलग अलग नमाजें होने लगी तो चंद आदमी आएं और नमाज पढ़ें और चल दिए. He says, if different groups of people start to come in, they offer their prayer and then leave, then this is what you're going to see, that small pockets of people will be coming. They're not going to wait for the Imam. They're not going to wait for the actual time of the Salat. They'll just come, they'll do their own prayers and then they'll leave. फिर और चंद आए और जमात को करके चल दिए. And then some more people will come, they'll do their own जमात and then they'll leave as well. तो इस तरह जमात की असल गर्ज जो है वो मफकूद हो जाती है. If this is done, then the true essence of prayer in congregation dies, which is to unify everybody. और हज़रत मसीह मऊद अलैहिस्सलाम ने इसको नापसंद फरमाया है. And the promised Messiah ﷺ has disliked this practice. This is a reference from the same book which I mentioned, Fiqh al-Masih. And Fiqh al-Masih quotes the reference from Akhbar al-Hakam, 28th March 1920, page number 3. Now what I wanted to do is I want to open up the floor to all of you. I believe Lajna and Maila also have a microphone available to them. Anybody who would like to ask any question related to Salat related matters, now is the time. Please go ahead and ask any question that you would like. Yes, sir.
I have one. Can you just explain a little bit what does the namaz consist of? What I'm asking is just the first is the namaz or the whole thing is the namaz? Because sometimes you see, we don't just pray sunnah. It should be done,
Okay.
Because there's nothing concise in the Quran, it's just the sunnah.
Okay.
I'm assuming that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, did all these sunnah, for witr. So, when we say that we're going to have reward for the namaz, what does that mean? We have to define the namaz itself first, that it's just the first or the whole thing.
Okay.
Can you repeat the question?
एक सेकंड, इसकी कोई बैटरी है? ये बैटरी इसकी खत्म हो गई. The red light is on. And the question has been asked that how do we define salat itself? Is it just the obligatory rakat for any prayer, for example for Fajr, the 2 fard rakat, is that what salat is? Or do we include the 2 sunnah before that? Similarly, what constitute salat for Zuhr and then for Asr and then for Maghrib and then for Isha? Do they include the sunnah and the nawafil prayers, the witr after Isha salat, or not? What is it that is compulsory? Basically, this is what it comes down to. So when we say salat has 2 aspects to it. One is that which is made obligatory by Allah the Almighty, and that is something that has to be done. And those are the fard rakat, which are 2 for Fajr salat, 4 for Zuhr salat, then 4 for Asr salat, 3 for Maghrib salat, and then 4 for Isha salat. In the state of hazr. Hazr means when you're not traveling. Jazakallah. So that is when you're not traveling. But then there is the second component to it. The second component is that which was done by Holy Prophet ﷺ on top of the Fard Salat itself, the Fard Rakat, which would be the 2 Sunnah prayers before Fajr. Similarly, Holy Prophet ﷺ has done 4 Sunnah before Dhuhr, and then 2 Sunnah after the 4 Fard Rakat of Dhuhr plus 2 Nawafil. And then there is the Asr Salat. Then after performing the 3 rakat of Maghrib Salat, there are 2 rakat for Sunnah. Some also like to offer 2 Nawafil after that. Then you have the Isha Salat. Isha Salat has Sunnah prayers, and then at the end it has the 3 rakat for witr prayer. Now this is what we constitute as prayer. If somebody does not offer Nawafil, then there is no sin for not offering Nawafil. But if somebody leaves Sunnah intentionally, then that is a sin. And that is considered wrong in the eyes of Allah the Almighty. So Sunnah is not supposed to be left unless you're traveling. And if you're traveling, then all the Sunnah are basically excused, except the Sunnah which are there before Fajr Salat, which is the 2 Sunnah rakat done before the 2 Fard rakat for Fajr Salat. Other than that, all the Sunnah prayers basically become exempted. The 4 Sunnah prayers that we read before Jummah, if you're traveling, some people say that because we're traveling and there's supposed to be no Sunnah prayer, then should those 4 rakat that are offered before Jummah Salat, do they also become exempted? The answer is no, because those 4 rakat are not done as a Sunnah, but they are done as a sign of respect for the Jummah itself. So wherever you go, whether you're traveling or whether you're stationary, those 4 rakat which are done before Jummah Salat are done always. One more point that I would like to mention as a side note on this issue is that when you come to masjid and Imam has already started his khutbah, if the Imam has not yet stood up and he has not yet started his Friday khutbah, then when you enter the masjid, you read 4 rakat. Let's say you entered and the Imam has not yet started his khutbah, so you would read 4 rakat of Sunnah prayers. But while you're reading, Imam has started the khutbah. So what you do is you quickly finish your 4 Sunnah prayers. But what happens if you enter the masjid and the Imam has already started his khutbah? In that scenario, then you're only supposed to do 2 Sunnah, or the 2 rakah basically. And then those 2 would suffice. Some people, what they do is when they enter the masjid, they keep on sitting because the Imam is giving the khutbah in the local language. So they say that, okay, this is important and we need to listen to it. So when the Imam begins the khutbah thaniya, which is in Arabic, the Arabic portion, which comes straight from Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that portion of khutbah, which comes from Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, people stand during that and then they start offering the Sunnah prayers. And that is wrong practice. You're supposed to offer the Sunnah prayer, the Sunnah rakat, as soon as you enter the masjid, as soon as you enter, even if the Imam has already started his khutbah. The only difference is, if the Imam has not started his khutbah yet, you offer 4. And if the Imam has started the khutbah and then you come, then you offer only 2. मैं इन सब बातों का एंड में 3-4 मिनट में खुलासा उर्दू में पेश कर दूंगा.
Just to continue this in question, so what in the case of namaz al-Jummah, to the namaz together, so at that point the Sunnah is exempted?
Yes. Yes. So his question is that do the Sunnah prayers become exempted at the time when 2 prayers are being combined? So for example, when Zohr and Asr for whatever reason are combined, the Sunnah basically are exempted at that time. Similarly, when Maghrib and Isha Salat are combined, the Sunnah prayers at that time are also exempted. That is correct. Yes, sir.
Surah Fatiha, Khalfe Imam.
Ji.
Can you please put light on it?
Okay. So the questioner has asked this question that, in certain ahadith it is mentioned that you are supposed to read Surah Fatiha behind the Imam. But some people disagree with that. So what is the correct understanding according to the Hazrat Masih Maud, the founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Committee, on this matter? This matter of reciting Surah Fatiha behind Imam is called Fatiha Khalf Imam, meaning reading Surah Fatiha behind Imam. Some people, what they do is when the Imam is reading, for example, during Maghrib Salat or during Isha Salat, when we are going to offer the prayer, Imam in the first 2 rakat is going to read out Surah Al-Fatiha out loud. So, do you listen to him when he's making the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha? Or do you also repeat in a very low tone, in a very low voice behind Imam? So the real stance is that when the Imam is reading Surah Fatiha out loud, you're supposed to read in a very low tone, very low voice. But don't read with Imam, or don't try to get ahead of Imam, read behind him. So when the Imam says, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, so first he will say Bismillah Rahman Rahim, and then he says Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Technically speaking, the Imam should be considerate of the Muqtadis, those people who are offering prayer behind him. So at that time, the Imam is supposed to give a little bit of time to the people behind him so that they can then read Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Then the Imam says Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, and then the people following will say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. So they're supposed to read, but not out loud, just in a very low tone. This is called reading Fatiha behind Imam. Yes, sir.
You just want to listen. That is also there's possibility you still have to recite it before or after the.
So the hadith regarding this is very clear. The hadith says that you're not supposed to read anything when Quran is being read out. You're actually supposed to listen to it, except when Surah Fatiha is being recited. Then you're also supposed to read. It is narrated in the books of ahadith that once Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was leading salat, and after leading Salat, it seems like it either was Fajr or Maghrib or Isha, one of these three prayers. He asked his congregants afterwards that when I was reading, when I was doing tilawat bil jahar, meaning when I was reciting Quran out loud in the prayer, were you also reading it behind me? And some of the companions said that yes, we were, and some said that no, they were not reading it, but rather they were listening. To this, Holy Prophet Muhammad mentioned that you're not supposed to read the Quran when the Quran is being recited out loud in the prayer by Imam. As a Muqtadi, you're not supposed to read it. You're rather supposed to listen to it and concentrate on it, except for Ummul Quran. Ummul Quran means Surah Fatih. So when Surah Fatih is being recited, that you also recite, but in a lower voice, in a lower tone. Yes, sir.
What's the importance of the namaz etiquettes, like how you keep your feet, or standing shoulder to shoulder, filling up the front rows before you start making new rows? So what's the importance of those things, or not crossing from the front of anybody who is praying?
Okay, Jazakallah. That's a very loaded question. 4 or 5 things that you've asked. I'll try to answer all of them, inshallah. So the first thing first. What is the significance of standing shoulder to shoulder with each other, or making sure that your feet are aligned with the person standing to your right and to your left? Basically making the rows straight. Holy Prophet Muhammad has mentioned that there should not be any gap in between people when they stand for prayers. So when you stand for prayers, you should stand in such a way that you are standing in a single row. Sometimes what ends up happening is that some people are standing behind the row where it starts, behind that point where the row starts, and some are standing on it, some are standing ahead of it. The real way, or the proper way of standing for Salat in a row, is that your heel, the back of your foot, should be where the row begins. That's where it should be. It should not be on it or behind it, but it should be right where it begins, so right ahead of it. This way, if everybody's standing like that, then you're all going to be in a straight line. Allah Ta'ala likes, when we are organized. Disorderliness is something which is not liked in Islam. Orderliness is something which is highly encouraged. And when we do these little things, although they seem little, but in the eyes of Allah the Almighty, they carry mighty weight. Similarly is the case of why we stand shoulder to shoulder with each other and not stand, at an arm's length with each other. The reason is, Allah the Almighty, Hazrat Masih Maud has mentioned, Allah the Almighty has created human beings with the ability to absorb spiritual powers and spiritual effects of the other person. When you're literally standing shoulder to shoulder with your brother, then his spirituality is going to affect your spirituality. And in the way electricity runs, this is how spiritual electricity runs from one person to the other. And if there is a gap in between, then that link is broken. That link is broken. Why is it? Have you ever wondered, why is it that when you are reading prayers behind Khalifatul Masih, you always notice that the rows are straight and people are actually standing shoulder to shoulder. Their shoulders are touching with the person to their right and to their left. And when you're offering prayer, you're super focused and you really enjoy. And when you come out of masjid, you feel that you have prayed. You really prayed. Because there, when you're in the company of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih, you make sure that you follow all these etiquettes. But the moment you come back and you're offering prayers, either by yourself or here at the masjid, you forget about those things. As if they take a back seat, they become secondary to you. And that shouldn't happen. One of the reasons why you actually enjoy praying behind Hazur Anwar, apart from, of course, his own personal spirituality, is the very fact that you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing in prayer based on the ahadith of Holy Prophet ﷺ. That when you stand shoulder to shoulder, one person's spirituality fuses into the other person. Imagine if your spirituality is down and the person on your right and on your left, their spirituality is high, then guess who is going to benefit from their spirituality at that moment? You are. So this is the wisdom why we're supposed to stand shoulder to shoulder with each other, and that there shouldn't be any gap in between. Now, as far as what was the other part of your question?
Starting new rows when the front row is not.
Okay. So the importance of standing in the first row is something which is stressed in a hadith of Holy Prophet ﷺ. Holy Prophet ﷺ has mentioned that if you were to know the amount of sawab, the reward that is there for those who are offering prayer in the first row, you would literally be doing, throwing lots to decide who will get to stand in the first row. Just the other day I had the opportunity, I think it was in North Virginia, that I was talking about this very concept of, coming to masjid. That when you make that extra effort to come to masjid, every single thing counts. For some of you, it takes 15 minutes. Some of you take 20 minutes, 25, 30 minutes. And for some, it might even take more than that to come to masjid. But every single moment that you're driving or you're walking towards masjid is adding up in your account, your spiritual account, from which you're not only going to benefit in the hereafter, but you will also benefit in this life as well. Holy Prophet ﷺ has mentioned that every step you take towards masjid, it is considered as a good deed. Imagine someone who drives 30 minutes. How many steps are that? And imagine how many good deeds are being recorded in that person's spiritual account. That's just the importance of coming to masjid over, offering prayers in your own home. Then comes the point of when you come to masjid, where should you stand? Then the Holy Prophet ﷺ has mentioned that the first row has more thawab, more reward, then the second row, then the third row, then the fourth row. Now imagine if somebody drove 30 minutes to masjid or walked 30 minutes to masjid, then came and took the first row. Imagine how many good deeds are being recorded in his or her spiritual book. So this is the importance of coming to masjid and then going for the first row. Now I also want to clarify, if for some legitimate reason, if an individual cannot come to masjid, then that doesn't mean that that individual should not read prayer. You are still supposed to read prayer. Try to go for second best, which would be go to the nearest Salat center. If there is no nearest Salat center available to you, then offer prayer in congregation with your family members. You can call your neighbors or closest Ahmadis to come and congregate in your house. But try to pray in congregation. And if for some reason you can't even offer prayers in congregation, then offer them by yourselves. But make sure that you don't leave prayer.
Sir, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that driving by anyone, every step to masjid is treated as good deed. My question is, who is reporting these good deeds to be added or reported to one's spiritual account?
Okay. Jazakallah. Your question is that I mentioned that when a person takes a step towards masjid, or when they're driving towards masjid, that in their book of deeds, good deeds are being recorded. Your question is, who is basically recording these good deeds? Allah the Almighty has appointed 2 angels with everyone. One angel, his job is to record everything good that you do. Everything good that you do, everything good that you think of, everything good that you say is being recorded by that angel. And then there is another angel whose job is to record everything bad that you do. Not everything bad that you think, but everything bad that you do. The thing is, even a thought that comes to your mind which is evil, which is whatever, which is bad basically, but you don't act on it, even that would be considered a good deed. Because something bad came to your mind, shaitan tried to incite you, but you chose to ignore the shaitan and not act on that deed, on that thought. That itself is also a good deed. But when a good thought comes to your mind, that's already a good deed. And when you act upon it, that's another good deed. So these good deeds that you do, they're being recorded by angels of Allah that Allah has already appointed with every individual. So there are 2 angels appointed with every single one of us. One is tasked with the job to record everything good that we do. The other is tasked with the job to record everything bad that a person does. Yes, sir.
What's the history of azan and takbir? How, was it a revelation of Rasulullah, or did he invent it?
Okay.
And also same thing for the salat itself, did Allah Ta'ala tell him like the sequence of all these wordings, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim or Sami Allah, or
Ji.
did he just come up with these?
Okay. The question that has been asked is, did Holy Prophet ﷺ start the the takbir that we read before, or the iqamah that we read before the salat itself, and did he or was he taught by Allah the Almighty the sequence of each prayer, and then what is supposed to be read out in each prayer, and then the significance or the background of calling the adhan? How did that begin, in the history of Islam? So let's start with the azan first. Azan, before the words that now we know of, which a Muazzin calls out, before these, Hazrat Bilal radiallahu anhu, or basically any individual, the job was to just announce to people that as-salatu jami'atun, that salah is about to be offered, so come, basically. That's what it is. As-salatu jami'atun, salat is about to happen. And then one day, Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu came after seeing a dream, and came and reported to Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, Ya Rasulullah, I have heard in a dream that someone is saying these words, and those were the words of azan that we now know of. And Holy Prophet ﷺ really liked it. And while this discussion was happening, another man came and said, Ya Rasulullah, I have heard in a dream, and then he also mentioned the same words that Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu just a few minutes earlier had mentioned. So this sort of, showed that it was Allah the Almighty that was teaching the words of azan through Roya Salihah, through true dream, or through this dream. So this is how the wording of azan, became part of the Islamic tradition. As far as the takbir goes, takbir I believe has been there since the very beginning. The salat itself, as to what it is that is being read in the salat, that is something which was taught to Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam by Archangel Gabriel through Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam. And Allah had appointed Jibreel alayhi salam to teach Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam how to offer prayer. So every single aspect of our salat itself is basically revealed through wahi to Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was physically demonstrated to him, and this is how Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam learned it, and then he taught to us. Yes, hold up. There was another individual who had raised his hand. Okay, so him, and then I'll come to Dr. Ji.
So I just wanted to ask, how to when we're doing salat, specifically when you're in pain or you're praying to Allah Ta'ala, your concentration is a lot more than on days when you just have to do salat, or that's something that's part of your schedule. So I think I just want to, there's multiple things that our Khulafa and Hazrat Masih has talked about, about reciting Surah Fatiha with a lot of concentration, and, thinking about the meaning when you're reciting it. I just want to hear from you if you have any tips for youth as well as anybody who, sometimes just kind of lose concentration is in namaz, and having that conviction in your heart when you're praying and you're literally trying to build that connection with Allah. To constantly keep that. Is there anything that you would say?
Your question is related to tips related to how a person can maintain focus in salat, especially the youth who, seem to doze off, or their attention sort of just dissipates when they stand in front of Allah to offer their salat. This is a topic that literally requires many, sermons or many lectures. And inshallah ta'ala, I do intend to share as many tips from the writings of the Promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, as well as that of the Khulafai Ahmadiyya. Of course, first and foremost, what the Quran itself says, then the Ahadith, and then these, the tips which are found in our literature. But just to maybe perhaps keeping time in mind, share one pointer with all of you. Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned that Quran was revealed in a very sad state, or on a very sad heart. So this is how Quran is actually supposed to be read as well. When you're reading the Quran in Salat, feel it. And you'll sense the emotions that it carries. As if Quran is, think every part of the Quran that you're reciting, think as if it is for you. At that moment when you're reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, at that moment when you're reciting Surah Al-Ikhlas, think that it is for you, that it came just for you. You make it personalized, that this is for you. You internalize it. And you'll start to see that your focus, inshallah ta'ala, will improve. There are many ways to improve one's focus. Promised Messiah ﷺ has mentioned many things. Another point that Promised Messiah ﷺ has mentioned is actually that you try to cry in your prayer. Some people, Allah has given them such soft hearts that when they stand, they just naturally start crying. You know, after graduating from Jamia, this is on a side note, after graduating from Jamia, Hazur Anwar Ayyadahullah bin Aziz sent me and my class fellows to Rabba. We went to Africa, we went to London, we also went to Rabba. And we met a very pious soul, a very, mighty servant of Jamaat, who passed away, I believe, last year. A year or two ago, actually. His name is Chaudhry Muhammad Ali Sahib, Mustar. Very famous poet of Jamaat, very, very famous servant of Khilafah. One thing that I noticed, he was at that time 96 or 97 years of age. And he passed away just a couple years ago. I remember the moment he would say Khalifa or Khilafah, his eyes would well up and he would start crying. That was his level of devotion with Khilafah, to Khilafah. That every time he would say something about any of the Khulafa, he would start crying. So some people are blessed with such hearts which are very soft and tender. That when they stand, they know that Allah is in front of them. Which is a hadith, that when you stand in prayers, think that you're looking at Allah. And if you can't think that you're looking at Allah, then at least think that He's looking at you. So, if your heart is not such that crying comes to it naturally, then imitate crying. Now this is something which is very, very phenomenal, written by Promised Messiah ﷺ. He says, when you imitate crying, a time comes when your body starts to have, your physical body starts to have an effect on your heart. When you imitate through your face that you are sad, in few minutes your heart literally becomes sad. In prayers, when you're imitating as if you're crying, your eyes actually then start to well up and you start tearing up. So these are some of the ways through which you can make sure that your concentration remains in prayer. Inshallah ta'ala, there are many, many pointers which I will share as we go along. Let me quickly ask my sisters on the Lajna side, if any one of you have a question, please go ahead and ask. अगर लजना का कोई सवाल है पूछ लें, तब तक मैं 1-2 मिनटों में जल्दी से जो मैंने मोटी बातें बयान की थी उनका खुलासा बयान कर दूँ उर्दू में। मैंने हज़रत मसीह मऊद अलैहिस्सलाम की ज़िंदगी से एक वाक़या पेश किया था। वो वाक़या सफ़र गुरदासपुर में हज़रत मसीह मऊद अलैहिस्सलाम की ज़िंदगी में पेश आया। वाक़या कुछ इस तरह से है कि हज़रत मसीह मऊद अलैहिस्सलाम नमाज के लिए वज़ू कर रहे थे। इतने में आपके एक रफ़ीक, एक सहाबी हज़रत मौलाना मोहम्मद हसन साहब रज़ी अल्लाह ताला अन्हु, जो कि वहाँ मौजूद थे, बीमार थे, उन्हें थोड़ी सी जल्दी थी। उन्होंने ये सोचा कि मैं पहले अपनी नमाज़ पढ़ लेता हूँ, बाकी सारे लोग मसीह मौऊद अलैहिस्सलाम के साथ नमाज़ पढ़ लेंगे। लिहाजा जब उन्होंने जल्दी में अपनी नमाज़ शुरू की तो बाज़ लोग आए, उन्होंने उन्हीं के पीछे नमाज़ पढ़ ली और इस तरह से बाजमात एक ही जगह पर नमाज हो गई। जब हज़रत मसीह मऊद अलैहिस्सलाम वज़ू फरमा कर वापस आए, आपको बताया गया कि इस जगह पर ऑलरेडी एक दफ़ा नमाज हो गई है। तो आप अलैहिस्सलाम ने बयान फरमाया, एक मकाम पर 2 नमाजें हरगिज़ न होनी चाहिए। इसमें हज़रत मसीह मऊद अलैहिस्सलाम ने हमें जो बात समझाई है वो ये भी है कि जो मुकर्ररा इमाम है उसका इंतज़ार करना चाहिए। अगर आप किसी वजह से जल्दी में हैं या कोई ऐसी बात है तो अपनी नमाज इस तरह से कायम करनी मस्जिद में जो है ये पसंदीदा बात नहीं, ये ठीक बात नहीं। इसी तरह हज़रत مسلم موعود رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہ نے بیان فرمایا کہ مثال کے طور پہ لوگ آتے ہیں مسجد میں اور اپنی اپنی باجماع نماز کر کے چلے جائیں. 4-5 لوگ آئے, انہوں نے اپنی جماعت کی اور چلے گئے. پھر ایک اور ٹولی آئی, انہوں نے اپنی جماعت کر لی اور وہ چلے گئے. پھر ایک اور ٹولی آئی. حضور اس بارے میں فرماتے ہیں یہ تو منع نہیں, ناپسندیدہ ہے وہ بھی مسجد میں, کیونکہ اس طرح الگ الگ نمازیں, اگر الگ الگ نمازیں ہونے لگیں تو چند آدمی آئیں اور نماز پڑھیں اور چل دیے, پھر اور چند آئے اور جماعت کو کر کے چل دیے, تو اس طرح جماعت کی اصل غرض جو ہے وہ مفقود ہو جاتی ہے. اور حضرت مسیح موعود علیہ السلام نے اس کو ناپسند فرمایا ہے. بحوالہ الحکم 28 مارچ 1920 صفحہ نمبر 3. اس کے بعد مختلف موضوعات کے اوپر سوالات ہوئے. سورہ فاتحہ کو امام کے پیچھے اونچی آواز میں پڑھنا چاہیے کہ نہیں پڑھنا چاہیے, اس بارے میں سوال ہوا, جس کا جواب تھا کہ جب امام سورہ فاتحہ اونچی آواز میں تلاوت کرے تو ہلکی آواز میں مقتدیوں کو بھی چاہیے کہ سورہ فاتحہ کی تلاوت کریں, لیکن صرف سورہ فاتحہ کی. قرآن کے باقی حصے کو جب امام پڑھتا ہے تو وہ صرف سننا ہوتا ہے, وہ دہرانا نہیں ہوتا, لیکن سورہ فاتحہ کو دہرانا ہوتا ہے. اسی طریقے سے بعض دوستوں نے یہ سوال کیا کہ پہلی صف میں کھڑے ہونے کا زیادہ ثواب ہے کہ نہیں. اس بارے میں نے ذکر کیا تھا کہ پہلی صف میں کھڑا ہونا چاہیے, اس کے زیادہ ثواب ہے. پھر یہ کہ ایڑی سے ایڑی ملا کے, کندھے سے کندھے ملا کے پھر کھڑے ہونا چاہیے, اس میں وحدت ہوتی ہے. ایک شخص کی روحانیت دوسرے شخص پہ اپنا اثر جو ہے وہ پیدا کر سکتی ہے. مسیح موعود علیہ السلام فرماتے ہیں انسان کو اس طرح سے بنایا ہے کہ اللہ تعالیٰ نے اس طرح سے پیدا کیا ہے کہ ایک شخص دوسرے شخص کے روحانی جو انوار ہیں ان کو جذب کر سکتا ہے. پھر اسی طریقے پر بعض اور سوالات ہوئے جن کا جو بھی فقہی رنگ میں جو جواب بتایا تھا وہ آپ کی خدمت میں پیش کیا. پھر ایک دوست نے آخر میں سوال کیا کہ ہمارے بعض نوجوان یا بعض بڑے بزرگ بھی ہوتے ہیں, ان کی نماز میں توجہ قائم نہیں رہتی, تو کیا کرنا چاہیے. اس بارے میں نے یہ عرض کیا تھا کہ یہ ایسا موضوع ہے جس کے اوپر کئی خطبات دیے جا سکتے ہیں. حضرت خلیفہ رابع رحمہ اللہ تعالیٰ کے کوئی میرے خیال سے کوئی 18 یا 20 خطبات اس موضوع کے اوپر ہیں, وہ کتابی شکل میں چھپے ہوئے. ان کا نام ہے ذوق عبادت, سننے سے تعلق ہے ان کا. انشاءاللہ کبھی موقع ملے گا تو جمعے کے خطبوں میں ان کا تھوڑا تھوڑا کر کے ذکر کرتا چلا جاؤں گا. لیکن بنیادی طور پہ 1-2 ٹپس جو شیئر کی تھی ان میں سے ایک یہ تھی کہ حضرت صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم نے فرمایا کہ قرآن جو ہے وہ ایک جسے کہتے ہیں نا درد مند دل کے ساتھ اترا ہے, درد کے ساتھ اترا ہے. بس جب قرآن کو پڑھا جائے تو اس درد کو محسوس کیا جائے. جب قرآن کے ان حصوں کو پڑھا جائے جہاں پہ اللہ کی نعمتوں کا ذکر ہے تو اللہ سے دعا کی جائے کہ اللہ تعالیٰ ہمیں ان نعمتوں کا وارث بنا, اور جہاں پہ عذاب کا ذکر ہو تو وہاں پہ اللہ تعالیٰ کے عذاب سے پناہ مانگنی چاہیے. اسی طریقے سے مسیح موعود علیہ السلام فرماتے ہیں نماز میں رونے کو اپنی عادت بنا لو. بعض لوگوں کے دل ہوتے ہیں بڑے نرم ہوتے ہیں, خدا کا ذکر ہوتا ہے تو رو پڑتے ہیں. میں نے ذکر کیا تھا, ہم پاکستان جانے کا موقع ملا چند سال پہلے ٹریننگ کے لیے. چودھری محمد علی صاحب مستر مرحوم و مغفور سے ملاقات ہوئی. ہم نے یہ دیکھا جب خلیفہ وقت کا ذکر آتا تھا یا کسی بھی خلیفہ کا ذکر آتا تھا, خلافت کا ذکر آتا تھا, تو ان کی آنکھوں میں آنسو آ جاتے تھے اور وہ رو پڑتے تھے, اور ان کی ایک لحاظ سے گھگی بن جاتی تھی. اس وقت ان کی عمر 96 سال تھی. تو اسی طرح کے دل ہوتے ہیں جو خدا کا ذکر ہوتا ہی ہے تو وہ ان کی آنکھ میں آنسو آ جاتے ہیں. بعض دل ہوتے ہیں جن کو رونا نہیں آتا, جن کو وہ درد محسوس نہیں ہوتا, ان کے لیے مسیح موعود علیہ السلام فرماتے ہیں تم رونے کی جیسا کہتے ہیں نا پریٹینڈ, جس طرح انسان کرتا ہے, تم پریٹینڈ کرو کہ تمہیں رونا آ رہا ہے, تو ایک وقت آئے گا کہ تمہارے جسم کے ذریعے سے, تم اپنے چہرے کے ذریعے سے جب افسردہ شکل بنا کے اس طرح سے کرو گے کہ جیسے تمہیں رونا آ رہا ہے, تو ایک وقت آئے گا تمہارا دل دکھی ہو جائے گا اور تمہاری آنکھوں میں آنسو آ جائیں گے, اور پھر تم مزید نماز کو سنوار کے پڑھ سکو گے اور تم انجوائے کرو گے. تو یہ چند باتیں تھیں جو آج شیئر ہوئی ہیں. انشاءاللہ تعالیٰ باقی پھر موقع ملے گا تو ان باتوں کے اوپر ڈیٹیل میں بات کریں گے. لجنہ کی طرف سے کوئی سوال نہیں؟ ٹھیک ہے, جزاک اللہ. وآخر دعوانا الحمدللہ رب العالمین.
I met Chaudhry Muhammad Ali Sahab at the age of 20 years.